It's called Party. I never was a cowboy that I always dreamed to be, so I'm content to write about it in the form of poetry. And what I'm about to tell you, I hope will make some sense. It's a simple little yarn about a cowboy riding fence. You see, I was riding along the fence line on a horse I called Old Blue, checking for broken wire, singing a refrain or two. It rang out through the canyons in less than perfect voice. And the animals had to listen, for you see, they had no choice. Now the Injuns, they'd have thought me crazy for going on this way, but I thought it a way to pass the hours, and I rode on through the day. Well, Old Blue, he thought quite different as he laid his ears along his neck, and he commenced to bucking and throwed me right into that fence. Now, as I left my worldly throne perched atop this ornery horse and led amongst the cactus and the wire, I began to curse, of course. Well, Old Blue, he took off a-running, a-kicking up his heels. All my whistles were in vain as the hurting I began to feel. Well, I'd have shot that critter for sure if he hadn't been out of sight. It's for sure with me afoot I'd never make camp by night. So I stood there picking cactus out of the seat of my Levi's, and every needle that I plucked brought more tears to my blue eyes. And as I stood there picking and a-calling that horse more names, well, over the hill he came a-plodding, dragging both his reins. Well, a little memory lapse there. Well, I begged and I coaxed, but that dang old nag, he wouldn't come to me. And every step I'd take toward him, one more step he would retreat. Well, he'd look at me and snort and perk up both his ears, and I don't mind it telling you, it was bringing me close to tears. But I took off for camp a-limping, and I can tell you there weren't no songs on my mind. But I swore on everything sacred I'd get even with that horse in time. And every step I took, the sagebrush ran up my nose, and if it weren't enough I were sneezing, those darn boots was a-killing my toes. But I made her into camp with the moon all big and round. I don't mind admitting I was a-feeling mighty down. Well, Old Blue, as he came in behind me, I could have sworn he had a grin. He was really a-pushing his luck. It's a good thing I considered him kin. 'Cause you see, your horse is your partner. You ain't got nobody else. And I just had to forgive him because I can't do her all by myself. So I gave him a bucket of oats and took the saddle from his back. I went into that old sod hut and I fell into the rack. Well, you know that old saying, be kind to dumb animals? It's true. But the dumb animal in this story sure weren't Old Blue. Please don't start throwing things or start hitting me until I get done with the phone. I found her in the evening. Summer sun still warmed the air. She just stared at me with big brown eyes. She was a lonesome gal, I swear. But she's sure a loyal subject. She's a lovely sight to see. And no matter where I go, she's always there with me. She never sasses back because she knows I'll slap her down. And when we have a fight, she'll even sleep out on the ground. She ain't too much for cooking. I do most of that. But I only give her what I want, so I know she won't get fat. I even comb her hair out to pamper her now and then. And if she hollers when I pull her hair, I just grab her by the chin. She ain't all that good looking, but she's loyal to the bone. And she's always glad to see me when I come dragging home. She even takes to running, goes out in parties now and then. But she never stays away too long till she comes back home again. But I always forgive her. There ain't no sense in holding a grudge. But she always cowers down until I give her a big hug. And on the day I lose her, I'm sure I'll break right down and cry. And on the day I lose her, it'll be hard to say goodbye. I'm sure I'll lose control and break right down and cry. I'll even ask the preacher to say a few words as I put her in the ground and cover her up with dirt. I'll wrap her in her blanket. She always liked that warm. have a fond memory of the way she kissed me with her tongue. I'll wash off an old boulder and scratch her name there inside. And down there underneath it, I'll put, I'll miss you, you old hide. And I'll probably never find another that'll ever quite compare. But even if I do, I'll miss that dog, I swear.
Got the rafter problem, huh? Well, I'm not real good at doing things on my own. My partner's not here, and I'm just flustered. But I'll do a song, and then I'll let someone get up and do some more poetry, maybe. What do you think, Hank?
You got it.
Well, that's kind of loud. My kid likes it loud. How's that? Do a song called Riding Down the Canyon. Riding down the canyon to watch the sun go down. A picture that no artist ever could paint. White-faced cattle lowing on the mountainside. I hear a coyote whining for its mate. Cactus plants are blooming, sagebrush everywhere. Granite spires are standing all around. I'll tell you folks, it's heaven to be riding down the trail, to watch that evening sun go down. When evening chores are over at our ranch house on the plain, and all I've got to do is lie around, I'll saddle up my pony, go riding down the trail, to watch that evening sun go down. Cactus plants are blooming, sagebrush everywhere. Granite spires are standing all around. I'll tell you folks, it's heaven to be riding down the trail, to watch that evening sun go down. Cactus plants are blooming, sagebrush everywhere. Granite spires are standing all around. I'll tell you folks, it's heaven to be riding down the trail, to watch that evening sun go down.
In the mountains, or maybe they're not. Maybe they're from New York City, or we got them from Canada and everywhere. But this guy that I'm talking about is not what you would call a cowboy. But he has photographed more rodeo cowboys than probably anybody in the country. And he was the sports editor for the Independent Record in Helena. He went on his first trip with me on a disabled kid wagon train across Montana. And since then, he has never missed a trip. I'd like to introduce to you Roy Pace.
Just stretch your neck, right?
No.
He said, this is a better mic, so I better use it. I need all the help I can get. And he's right, I'm not a cowboy. I ride a horse a lot, but I don't claim to be a cowboy. I really hadn't planned to do this poem, but he was talking about some of the trips. I think I will start out with a poem that I wrote after I made the second riding train trip with Henry. We made a 4-day trip through the Big Belt Mountains from Ringling to Townsend, and I wrote a poem called Times Have Changed. Life out on the western frontier was really rough. Just to survive, the pioneers had to be pretty tough. But some of us like to relive the days of the early West. However, we want just the fun and forget all the rest. Although we sometimes complain, we really live a life of ease. Most of us only saddle a horse or hook up a wagon when we please. Our survival doesn't rest on our ability to use a gun or being mounted on a good horse that can really run. Some of us like to trek through the mountains with a wagon train, but we're careful where we go because we don't want the sweat and the pain. We usually follow an old road to get to the top of the ridge, and when we come to the river, we prefer to cross it on a bridge. Some folks like to be authentic when it comes to preparing their food, but if it means building a fire, cleaning up, or cooking and cleaning up, most people just aren't in the mood. Since we go out on the trail for a few days, mainly for fun, we would rather just have a caterer holler, come and get it when the steaks are done. For some of us, a campfire isn't for cooking, you see. It's to gather round to do a little singing and cowboy poetry. It doesn't matter who gets into camp first, because we're out for fun, not a race. And the only one you worry about being late is the guy who puts a portable outhouse in place. Even when we go to the mountains with a pack string, we like to take enough animals we can haul about everything. We may be camped at 8,000 feet on a beautiful mountain pass, but when it comes time to cook supper, we prefer to do it on a little stove that burns gas. There's a little bit of cowboy in every kid who's ever been born, I have heard it said, but in most people today, the true pioneering spirit has long been dead. Luckily, long rides, wagons, and campfires are not a way of life for most of us today. They're just the things we like to do, but only when we go out to play. I'd like to do an old classic now written by S. Omar Barker. I know a lot of you have heard this one. It's called Pert Near. They called him Pert Near Perkins, for unless a burger lied, he had pert near done most everything that he had ever tried. He had pert near been a preacher, and he had pert near roped a bear. He'd met up with Comanches once, and pert near lost his hair. He had pert near wed an heiress who had money by the keg. He had pert near had the measles, and he had pert near broke his leg. He had pert near been a trail boss, and according to his claim, he had pert near shot Bill Hickok, which had pert near won him fame. He had pert near rode some broncs upon which no one else had stuck. In fact, he was a feller who had pert near drowned a duck. Now, mostly all the cowboys on the lazy SB spread, they took his talking with a grin and let him fight his head. But one named Tom McGinnis sort of told it to him rough. He said, "You're riding with an outfit now where pert near ain't enough. We tie our last ropes to the horn, and what we catch we hold. And pert near is one alibi we never do unfold." And they told him that he lied. They had caught him with the goods, or they cussed him for a horse thief, and they had caught him with the goods. They sent right out to hang him in a nearby patch of wood. They had poor Tom surrounded, their guns all fixed to shoot. It sure looked like this poor cowboy had heard his last owl hoot. They tied a rope around his neck and throwed it over a limb, and Tom McGinnis pert near knowed this was the last of him. When suddenly a shot rang out from somewhere up the hill, Them nesters dropped the rope and ran like nesters sometimes will. When bullets start to whizzin', Tom's heart leaped up with hope to see old Pert near Perkins riding towards him at a lope. Looks like a Pert near got here just in time, old Perkins said, to see them nesters hang you. Tom's face got kinder red. You pert near did, he pert near grinned. They pert near had me strung. You're looking at a cowboy that has pert near just been hung. And also one who has changed his mind, for no word ever said can sound as sweet as pert near when a man's been pert near dead.
I got an idea, I'll use the switch. I had the rare privilege and honor of playing guitar for Tex Williams' last tour he ever took. About 6 months before he passed away of cancer of the throat. We did 28 towns in 30 days, all in Montana. We did the biggies. We did Cutbank and Shelby and White Sulphur and East Missoula. And had a ball, had a ball. But he had a song that I like to do. It was his last hit. It was done in the mid-70s. He hadn't hit in about 20 years. He did this one. Miss Nancy Ann had a boarding house with a faded sign that read, "Single rooms for single girls, no men allowed," it said. And rumor had it that a gentleman with the end for love for a fee could always go down to Miss Nancy Ann's for some feminine company. One night in June in the billiard room, I was chopping up with a friend. When all at once the door flew open and Leo James rushed in. He said there's a fire that just broke out and it's down to Miss Nancy Ann's. So we dropped our cues on the pool room floor and into the street we ran. Though the smoke was thick and the fire was hot and not a single life was lost, and the reason for the blaze was never found. But he'll always be remembered in our local history as a fire that fairly scandalized the town. The night Miss Nancy Ann's hotel for single girls burned down. When we got there, the front was ablaze, and so was the second floor. So we ran up the alley, and we were standing there by the back door. When all at once the door flew open and knocked poor Leo flat. And out through the flame came Mayor Wills wearing nothing but a black silk hat. And right behind him with a shirt tail afire came the local chief of police. His arm around a red-headed girl that he always called his niece. And I spied Miss Nancy Ann herself helping someone out of the fire, her arm around the red bald-headed old Judge McIntyre. There was a deacon, a dentist, a deputy sheriff, and one state congressman. The city physician, the local mortician, out through the flames they ran. A grand parade of guys, gals, and gowns, and half-clad gentlemen, through thick gray smoke that sweetly smelled of French perfume and gin. Yeah, the smoke was thick and the fire was hot, and not a single life was lost, and the reason for the blaze was never found. But it'll always be remembered in our local history as a fire that fairly scandalized the town. The night Miss Nancy Ann's hotel for single girls burned down. Everybody got out of the fire by the time the roof caved in. We're heading back to the billiard hall when Leo says to my friend, he says, "I believe that's the funniest sight I've seen in this here town." The so-called elite caught out in the street with their pompous purity down. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to do one more, I guess. And he pointed to me. This is one that I wrote called "In the Evening by the Spring." The place that my kids and I really got to know each other is a place that my dad had leased since the 1930s. And we grew up there. This is actually composite. There's a spring and a mountain, two places I used to stay in. Just think, sometimes you need a place just to think, just to be away. And this is where it took place. This spring, one of the greatest honors I've ever had, the 6th grade select choir chorus at the spring concert sang this song, and I had played guitar for them. And there's a whistling part in here. And you know how difficult it is to whistle when the kids are about 15 kids are singing your song, and the tears are running down your eyes, and it's tough to do. Anyhow, this is a song, "An Evening by the Spring." In the evening by the spring, you can hear a robin sing. The woods astir, God's creature sees their rest. From the breezes in the trees, the zephyrs whisper, hear our pleas, that we may tell of nature's treasures blessed. A multicolored rainbow arching boldly to the ground, directing our attention to God's treasures all around. Then the sunset breaks like shade, hear our grazing on the glade. Soon the moon and stars will glimmer through the night. Geese beneath the clouds, a gopher whistles shrill and loud, as an eagle soars above in stately flight. Beavers swimming on the pond, baby ducklings skim along behind their mom, who leads them to their nesting site. Then a hush falls on the valley, from my grassy throne I spy a golden path of sunlight leading homeward to the sky. And the sunset breaks like shade, hear our grazing on the glade. Soon the moon and stars will glimmer through the night.
Okay, as all of you know, this benefit is for the 4-H kids to do their exchange program. And they have over here for sale popcorn for the table, and they have coffee, and they have some other kind of drink, maybe some tainted water, maybe.
Cider, hot cider.
The next two entertainers that we have are really something special, and so before we get into those guys, I got something to tell y'all. It's kind of a, secret.
Well, there's a place to tell her.
Mike told me I couldn't do this, but I wrote a poem. You want to hear it? Well, this poem is called, everybody knows I'm a good cook, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this poem is called My Chili and the Bucking Outhouse. In my tent camp in the mountain, the Smith River was just below. I had tucked my tents behind a cliff. By gosh, that wind could blow. Well, I had this group from Florida I'd had a few times before. They had the tent wood stacked so high you couldn't see out the door. I admit the weather was nasty, maybe 10 or 12 below, and the wind was blowing 40 knots and there was a foot or more of snow. Well, a coyote came up to the tent, I think to steal some wood. But the temperature dropped 40 degrees and it froze him where he stood. So I used him for a statue, and I placed him on the top of my dainty little outhouse. It was kind of a smelly spot. Well, I had placed this house of comfort 50 yards upon the hill, so you could look across the canyon and see what you could kill. And I had put within some seat belts in case of wind. You see? I thought it might go sliding down the hill with you or me. Well, I just cooked up some chili with lots of onions and cheese and doused it full of pepper till it'd make a polecat sneeze. Well, everyone loved my chili, though my recipe had no name. But the buildup of the pressure, something I can't explain. In just a couple of hours, your belt gets awful tight. That rumbling noise gets started, and you hold back with all your might. Well, this big old guy from Florida, he was 6'6" or more. He left that tent a-trotting towards that waiting outhouse door. You could tell he was in a hurry. He unbuckled while on the run. And he just got inside the door when that awful noise begun. Well, in that little house of comfort, he decided to light a smoke. That outhouse lifted off the ground. The smell would make you choke. The damn thing kept on rising. It was headed toward the sky. I thought I'd better shoot it down before it got too high. So I carefully took my shotgun, and I shot a time or two before I hit that bullseye that was looking down at me and you. That outhouse, it exploded. It caught fire while coming down. It must have thawed that coyote out before he hit the ground. He left that awful wreckage. He burned a path right through the snow. And he crossed a couple of mountains before he began to slow. Well, this big old guy from Florida, he was really quite a mess. And his temper was certainly rising when that outhouse came to rest. There may be lots of reasons for a guy to get so mad. But chili and cigarettes in my outhouse can really make it bad. He heard us all laughing. And his long handles were aflame near that same old spot where I took such careful aim. So when you eat my chili, be sure you buckle up. That outhouse is pretty dangerous when it decides to buck. The next guy came from Tuskegee, Idaho. He's quite famous in the cowboy poet field. He deals with cowboy poets all the time. He's an outdoor editor or outdoor writer for Cowboy Gazette magazine. And he's done a lot of poems, and he really works hard in the industry to make sure that cowboy poetry is something better than what you just heard. What about Charlie Camden? I'd like to introduce to you. He told his wife he was going to be the biggest cowboy poet in Idaho. Well, he only got 10 pounds to go.
Well, I got a big surprise for you. It's going to fall on the floor. That wasn't the surprise, though. Surprise is, I don't know how to play this thing. And that's the real truth. Glasses straight at it. I took a couple of lessons on guitar. Either one of them worked. But I got a friend down in American Falls, Idaho. His name's Wayne Nelson. Probably maybe some of you guys know Wayne. He told me, he says, you know, he says, you're going to have to learn how to play guitar. I said, you know, that's good, except by my old logger hands and my old rope burner hands, I just can't hit those chords and everything. He says, well, I'll teach you one. And he says, you can use that. I said, okay. So he taught me an E. And that's all I know. So it was a challenge, you know. And I had to write something to fit it. I don't know. Can you hear that at all? Okay. So my buddy Jeff Strebe, he's president of the Charlie Russell Western Heritage Association. He called me up and he says, Charlie, I want you to do something for the opening show. And so I said, okay, sure, that'd be great. Yeah, I'd love to do that. He says, I want you to do something for some Texas Cowboys that are coming up. I said, oh, boy, we're being honored, Texas Cowboys, you know. So he says, yeah, and he says, I want you to do something with the guitar. I said, Jeff, come on. I don't even know how to play the guitar. He says, well, he says, use your ingenuity. So I got on the phone, called Wayne Nelson. Wayne rescues me every once in a while. And he said, well, remember that E I told you? And I said, yeah. He said, well, just play it and do your poem with that. So I just call this Let 'Em Ride. Some folks say that a sound never dies, and the legends grow tallest under Texas skies. Almost forgotten, then they're told once again, and they bring back old memories of a time back when you could ride across the mountains and the prairies. You could ride back when young boys and outlaws could be one and the same. Rustling cattle was a dangerous game. Better rallies won. It's a safe bet. If the boys ride you out, they'll get 'em yet. So they ride. Hear 'em ride. Get 'em up. Push 'em up. Hit 'em up. Turn 'em up. Down on the Rio, in the pale moonlight, shadows listen for the sounds in the night. Hoofbeats echo off of dark canyon walls. Out in the mesquite, the night owl calls. Then they ride in the night, stealing cattle. Let 'em ride. Cattle are calling. I can hear 'em low. Day and night, up from old Mexico. We'll push 'em across the river. Trade 'em for gold. Pay for the whiskey and the women that we hold. Let 'em ride. You're riding in the night. Sheriff, posse, put out the fire, let 'em go, quiet. Dust from the cattle, smoke from a gun. It's the breath of an outlaw till the day's undone. Hanging trees waiting down by the bend. If a bullet don't get him, they'll put a quick end to his right. Let him ride. Hell-bent for leather, chasing four winds. I'll meet with the devil before this night ends. Gunfire sounds from a distant goal. Let me ride. Let him ride. I'm hit, Billy. I'm hit.
Hang in there, John.
Hang on, John. I'll get you there. Don't fall. Ride, John. Ride. Let him ride. Hanging tree waits as the sun goes down. There's a light in the tail at the border town. Tomorrow daylight, they'll take Billy away. When that's the last words, they'll hear him say, let me ride. Just let me ride, boys. One last time. To smell the smoke. Hear the cattle. Taste the wind. Taste the whiskey. Let him ride. Let him ride. Get him out. Push him out. Turn him out. 100 years later, when the night owl calls, shadows start to dance on the dark hanging walls. Gunfire echoes from a time gone by. The lightning will flash across Texas skies, and they ride. You're right. Cattle are running. I can hear the boys yell. Fall from their pony and see in hell. Let me ride. Push him across the river, trade him for gold. Pay for the whiskey and the women that we hold. Let me ride. Ride. Ride.
All
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna give you about a 5-minute break to get some refreshments if you want. If you want to get Cokes or popcorn or something and take them before the night's over, because that's one of my favorite stories. Mike has been a school teacher in Helena. He takes photographs of old barns and homesteads and stuff like that, and sell those. He has all kinds of cowboy poet and picture books that he's taken throughout Montana. He's represented Montana, I don't know how many years, at the Cowboy Poet Gathering in Elko, Nevada. He travels all over the world saying poems. And he's a really good friend of mine, and I'd like to introduce him to you right now, Mike Logan.
Get Mike.
The other one's best. What's that mean, Mike?
Make up my mind.
Butcher, I guess I'm shorter than you are.
Is that all right?
No, I haven't touched it yet.
Okay.
I think you're just a little older and stoop a little more.
Is that right? As long as we know. I just had, watch yourself. I guess I just had a poem named that I should say here. I've been in Helena for 30 years, but I come originally from Coffeyville, Kansas, which is where the Dalton boys tried to hold up 2 banks in one day, and none of them survived it but one. always said they tried hard on Emmett. They shot him 23 times. And he lived to become a real estate man in California. So that's probably worse than going staying in prison. Anyway, I thought I'd start off with this one since Henry said something about it. I don't think there is anywhere in the world hotter than where I grew up. If you call home during the summer and forget to say how's the weather, almost invariably they'll say it's hotter than hail. So somebody said it one day and I thought of this one, and I just called it The Devil and Old Billy Bob. Old Billy Bob was plumb confused. He'd be the first to tell. He started for them pearly gates, but finds himself in hell. The devil stands a fuming as old Billy Bob comes down. He's breathing smoke and red-hot fire and wearing an awful frown. He says, "Just where you headed, hoss?" Old Billy Bob don't know. He's discombobulated some about where he's supposed to go. "I saw you try that up trail, Bill." He flicks his three-forked tail. And Billy Bob knows where he is. Them Okies calls it hail. Billy Bob's a Okie cowboy, used to summers on them plains. He tells old Lucifer right off, don't take no special pains. I know right where I am now, and I know you set the rule. But can't you turn the heat up? Hail seems to me something cool. Old Satan, he steps back some and cracks that awful whip. His helpers stoke hell's pit some more. Billy's teetering on the lip. Well, shoot, now that's some better. He looks down that fiery hole. But you suppose it's asking too much to add a bit more coal? I don't mean to be complaining, but this thing of being cold, if I gotta spend eternity, could get to be plumb old. Old Nick, he loads them fire pits till they're burning hotter than, well, I guess you'd say he loads them till they're burning hotter than hell. Old Billy Bob's relaxing some. That furnace works real good. He volunteers to help them boys a pitching on more wood. Old Mr. Devil's sweating now. He's too hot, don't you see? He decides to send old Billy Bob back where he used to be. But Billy Bob don't want to go. The temperature's just right. Hail feels just like a breath of spring on an Oklahoma night. He says, I'll hit your furnace crews if you'll just let me stay. Shoot, I'll even put in overtime if you'll do things my way. I'll need some men that's used to heat and won't their duty shirk. Just give me Texas cow hands. I know they'll like the work. But if you want to see real heat, just come back up with me. It's summer on them Okie plains and hot, I guarantee. Why, Beelzebub, I've seen that heat plumb melt whole mountains down. That's why us Okie cowboys always works on near flat ground. The devil says it's comfortable for him down there in hell. At least it was before Billy Bob got things fired up so well. And these days on the gates of hell is burn this sign discreet. No Oklahoma cowboys. Send them Okies to St. Pete. If the devil needs a hard case now that needs to roast real good, he just thinks of Oklahoma. And he saves his coal and wood. Because if old Nick needs real heat or true brimstone aroma, why, he knows to send them bad ones all up to Oklahoma. Old Billy Bob, he's back now. I guess that tells my tale. Why, they ain't no Okie cowboys cooling off down there in hell. Henry asked me if I would say 3 poems here, and Charlie cornered me outside and asked me if I would do one that I call the Young Cowboy's Story. I was a little worried when I first started working on this because I thought maybe I was messing around with a cowboy classic. But in the old song, The Streets of Laredo, or the Cowboy's Lament, whichever you want to call it, the line in the second verse ends up with the young cowboy saying, "Come sit down beside me and hear my sad story. I'm shot in the breast and I'm going to die." But in no version of the song I ever heard did he ever tell the story. So I thought it'd be fun to make up a poem to go along with the song. I'm not a singer, so you'll have to bear with me a little bit here.
Yes, he is.
But I can prove it. Just hang on. But anyway, I wrote this poem, and I quit worrying about working with a cowboy, messing with a cowboy classic, because I found out that this song was written in the 1600s in London. It became a sea shanty afterwards, and finally became the old song that we know as the Cowboy's Lament, the young cowboy's story. Since I'm not a singer, I'm always afraid I'll go, "As a-" No. We'll try to start somewhere in between there. As I walked out in the streets of Laredo, as I walked out in Laredo one day, I saw a young cowboy all wrapped in white linen, all wrapped in white linen, as cool as the clay. I see by your outfit that you are a cowboy. These words he did say as I boldly stepped by. Come sit down beside me and hear my sad story. I'm shot in the breast and I'm going to die. I sat down beside him, that lonesome young cowboy, all wrapped in white linen and shot in the breast. And as he lay dying, he told me this story, as old as Cowboy, as old as the West. We've gathered a herd in the breaks of the Bravo, across the great river from old Mexico. Inside Laredo, we've worked them and branded. We're mostly young cowboys, all raring to go. With 2,000 head of road-branded longhorns, the outfit's all set to pull out the next day. We're leaving Laredo and bound for the railhead in far-off Dodge City, 2 hard months away. On good grass and water, the cows are plumb peaceful, and even the rounders have all bedded down. The boss gives the nod for us boys not on night guard to hit the cantinas our last night in town. Before he's through nodding, we're saddled and riding. We hit for Laredo to see all the sights, and feeling some playful, we raced down the main street a-hooping and hollering and shooting at lights. I spur for the card house to play me some monte. The barkeep don't smile when I ride right on in. The marshal, he's testy 'cause we come a-shooting. He warns me particular, don't do it again. He says I should tie up outside at the hitch rack and keep my gun holstered till I'm out of town. I get me some whiskey and head for the tables. Things start going bad from the time I sit down. My luck, it's all colder than a snake in a norther. Ain't had a good card since I took my first hand. For too long, I'm busted. And braved up on whiskey, I'm lured down the street by a Mexican band. I head for the back door of Rosa's Cantina and my dark-eyed Maria to ask for a dance. I find her all wrapped in the arms of another. The love in her eyes tells I ain't got a chance. But though the floor's bucking and my gate's unsteady, I try to cut in at the end of the song. The cowboy that's waltzing Maria refuses. I go on the fight, though I know I'm dead wrong. I'm in a black mood 'cause of bad cards and whiskey. And now my Maria has been took away. I go for my gun, and this young puncher shoots me. I'll never see Dodge, 'cause I'm dying today. Well, this is a story that young cowboy told me. His life ebbed slowly those long years ago. And with his last breath, he asked me this favor. Down across the great river from old Mexico. Get 6 husky cowboys to carry my coffin. Get 10 lovely maidens to sing a song. And beat the drum slowly and play the fife slowly. For I'm a young cowboy who knows he was wrong. We beat the drum slowly and played the fife slowly, and wept in our grief as we bore him along. For we loved that cowboy so young and so handsome. We loved that young cowboy, although he'd done wrong. This is the only one of the poems that I had planned on doing tonight. So, that I had planned on. It again has a little song at the end, but I think we can probably get through it. In his great book, The Longhorns, J. Frank Dobie said that probably more cowboys or drovers were killed on the trail by lightning than were ever killed being run over by cows. The other thing that led me to do this poem was that to my untrained musical ear, there is a great similarity between taps and the old hymn, Amazing Grace. I call this one Burial. It's in 3 parts. Well, boys, you know old Moon and me was partnered up for years. I gotta say a word or two if I can fight the tears. I know old Moon will understand if we make this some quick. Them cows is run to hell and gone, all up and down this creek. And boss, I'd take it kindly if you could say the prayer. Old Moon, he thought the world of you, said you was always square. And Billy, when we're finished, could you sing that old church tune? You know the one, Amazing Grace. It meant a lot to Moon. Moon's gone and crossed that last big range and left me here alone. And boys, I don't mind telling you, my heart's plumb turned to stone. That lightning storm come up so quick, Moon didn't shed his gun. I think the strike that killed him caused the cows to make the run. Killed his hoss and him together in a great blue blinding flash. Them cows was up and running before we even heard the crash. They just running down the ribbons. And his hoss and saddle too. And every cow in that stampede clashed horns glowing blue. St. Elmo danced his cold blue fire on every longhorned head. Before I even seen them jump, I knowed old Moon was dead. He come out from Kentucky when he was just a kid. He always had to make it. Usually said I never did. Old Moon was fun, good-natured. He always wore a grin, just seemed to hunt the good side. Hospice, life, and man. If old Moon told you something, you can bet your poke it's true. He'd side you in a tight spot, likely to josh you through. People I'm sure studied out of hospice, and he sure did know the cow. If St. Pete's needing top hand, he's got one coming now. Well, Moon was letting out the cows. I'm going to miss you hard. I know you'll have the last string out when I play my last card. Don't play no tricks on angels, or leastways don't get caught. And keep them makings ready. And the call, good night. Boss. Oh, Lord. This man we're sending is the best we've got to give. It's hard for us to see right now, but old Moon couldn't live. But Lord, you know your business and when to send the word. And who do you need to help when you're afraid of heaven's hurt? I put Moon out there right in the point. There ain't no better hand. I know he'll learn them trails of gold, just like him this man. Just give old Moon a string of bronze, and please, don't fence him in. He's used to big sky advantage. Well, thank you, Lord. Amen. Good?
Well, boy, it took a tough guy to stand up behind that one.
Good job.
Well, I'm fixing to get pretty serious here with y'all. To be honest with you, I wrote another poem and I just finished it and I haven't learned it yet. But it's kind of a different, you might say it might be even a different kind of a cowboy poem. I bet you can't get the name of it either. Oh, propane. Oh, yeah. It was early in the fall. Tree leaves had turned to gold. It was time to set my hunting cap before it got too cold. I had a string of sorrel mules. They were hard to tell apart. Oh, each one had its funny ways, but all were very smart. At least, that's what I always thought, until this very day. What happened on this mountainside, in words, was hard to say. There were Luke and John, Jack and Jill, and all were held to shoe. Sammy liked to kick a lot, so I put my faith in Sue. I had them tailed with packs on tight. In the lead, I rode my horse. We headed up towards the pass. Just me and my cousin Morris. Now, Cousin Morris was a city dude. Only knew about subways and cars, and dressing up in fancy duds and smoking big cigars. Well, old Jill was packing all the grub, and it was quite a load, I'd say. Sammy had both meat coolers, and Sue 2 bales of hay. On Luke, I had my kitchen packed. Old John, he had all the duffel. Jack had 2 old propane bottles. And that started all the trouble. The trail got steep and rocky, too, as we headed through the timber. I'm telling you, what happened next was something to remember. Old Jack was known to stumble some, but he never seemed to fear. Jill couldn't get stopped in time, so she bumped him in the rear. Well, Jack's back slammed into a tree. That propane began to spew. He bucked so high when he come down, it looked like a morning dew. Jill turned to flip and straddled Sammy. The air was filled with stakes. That spewing noise got awful loud. Sounded like a den of snakes. John was really bucking hard. There was duffel between his feet. Luke's kitchen pack had come apart. Sammy's cooler spilled the meat. A sack of flour busted open. A white cloud was in flight. Spooked my horse into a buck, and it turned old Sammy white. The smell from that propane tank and the noise coming from the spout damn near killed all my mules and turned my pack string inside out. And Cousin Morris, he was ghostly white. He couldn't believe his eyes. Luke and Sue were tied in knots, and Jill was on her side. Hell, I've been running pack strings for nigh on 30 years. But the wreck that I was looking at filled my eyes with tears. But if I ever get off this mountain, this trip won't be in vain. I'll buy myself a wood stove. Then I won't need propane. Thank you. Okay, now I got a real treat for you. Our late arrival, he was a 10 months baby too, you know. But he turned out to be a stud. But Mark did get here, and so at this time I would like to turn over to you, the Fall River Boys, and let them entertain you a bit.
That grab you.
How you doing, Mark? Yeah, good. Good.
Shoot him.
Well, I want y'all to know I'd been here sooner, but I left too late. And if I wouldn't have drove so fast, I still wouldn't be here. We won't go into why I wasn't late. It was a family thing anyway. And
I want to know how you made a 3.5-hour trip in 2.
I drove fast enough, it took the curl right out of my mustache. I didn't know the old Ford could go that fast. I really didn't. It's a good thing I waxed it. I think that added about 2 miles an hour to it. Oh. Shoot, let's pass, my brain ain't here yet.
Why don't you tell them that new poem about chicken?
I think I'll do that other one.
Okay, do that other one.
The stars were fading in the east. A north wind scrubbed the snow. The mercury dropped until it stopped at 28 below. A rancher donned his coat and hat. His morning chores can't wait. His breath was fog as he called his dog and headed for the gate. Well, that's when he saw this little bird near frozen on a rail. He's too cold to fly and about to die. His wee heart soon to fail. Now this rancher wasn't heartless, but he had chores to do, so he passed on by. Then something caught his eye. A steaming pile of poo. Well, he had himself an idea. He picked up that little bird, then walked around and plopped it down, right in that fresh cow turd. Now the bird, he felt insulted at the deed this man had done. Hell, it made more sense to die on that fence than in this pile of dung. But then he noticed something. Well, it was warm down in that pie. And though it smelled, the bird soon felt he wasn't going to die. In fact, it made him feel so good he broke out in a song. But that was his doom, because pretty soon the old cat came along. You see, the cat had heard him singing, and you know how cats like birds. He licked his lips and snatched him quick, right out of his warm turd. Now there's a moral to this story. And I've often found it true that folks get you into stuff ain't always hurting you. But then again, on the other hand, them folks that get you out ain't always your friend. And in the end, their actions sell you out. But there's one thing that's most important. Don't forget, no matter what, if you're a chin beat, it's best to keep your tweeters tightly shut.
Well, I want to see by a show of hands who feels the same way I do. A guy comes in late, he ought to do at least 2 things by himself.
What's that? Shut up and sit down?
I think these folks would like to hear you sing.
That's because they don't know me.
If I can find out the right song.
That's not it.
That's not it.
You want to borrow my guitar?
You got, yeah, that's the one.
Wait, you want me to sing without you playing, dude?
You're glad we're not paying them.
Was a cowboy I knew in South Texas. His face was burned deep by the sun. Part history, part sage, part Mexican. He was there when Pancho Villa was young. And he'd tell you a tale of the old days when the country was wild all around. Sit out under the stars of the Milky Way and listen while the coyotes howl. And they'd go, ooh, 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 cursed all the roads and the oil men, and he cursed the automobile. Said this is no place for an hombre like I am, in this new world of asphalt and steel. Then he'd look off someplace in the distance at something only he could see. He'd say all that's left now of the old days are them damned old coyotes and me. They'd go, ooh, yip, ooh, yip, ooh. 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 Now the longhorns are gone, and the drovers are gone, the Comanches are gone, the outlaws are gone, now Poncho's gone, Stan Wattie is gone, and the buffalo's gone, and the red wolf is gone. One morning they searched his adobe. He disappeared without even a word. But that night as the moon crossed the mountain, one more coyote was heard. And he'd go, ooh, yip, ooh, yip, ooh. 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 Ooh, yip, ooh, yip,
Maybe a little faster participation.
Okay. This is going to be one of them things where everybody wants to sing along whether you want to or not. It's a pretty simple song. Most of you have probably heard it. I'll tell you when to join in. It'll be fun.
Up on the mountain so happy and free, there lives a maiden, she's a-waiting for me. Out on the lake we'll drift with the tide and hear the chime bells ring. Chime bells ringing, diddle-lay-doodle-doo, mockingbird singing, diddle-lay-doodle-doo, sleeping little lover, diddle-lay-doodle-doo, upon the summer's eve. Here we go!
Sound like a bunch of coyotes.
Moonbeams were shining as I kissed her there. Nightbirds were singing, perfume filled the air. Each little star just twinkled with glee while heaven smiled on me. Chime bells are ringing, needle-lay-doodle-doo, mockingbird singing, needle-lay-doodle-doo, sleeping little lover, needle-lay-doodle-doo, upon the summer's eve.
One more time. I think they'd do better if you went faster.
I was thinking slower.
Well, you could probably do it easier if you went faster, couldn't you? Yeah.
Faster?
I think so.
Maybe. You got those words?
I thought you was going faster.
I thought I was too.
I thought you was good.
Oh!
That wasn't any faster.
This is the part I like. I need a love.
Whoa, 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 ho, ho, ho. We had to talk about this here just last time you did that. You gotta quit doing that, you're gonna hurt yourself.
Just one more time.
I heard that every time. This is it.
Thanks, Dan.
Be careful now.
I need a love. I need a lady.
I'm surprised you can do that without standing on the chair.
How much more you want, him?
How much more can you stand?
He was late. Go ahead and do it out.
Okay, we actually have a request that wasn't shut up and sit down. This is a Badger Clark poem, and it's an old Scottish melody called Annie Laurie. The poem's called A Bad Half Hour.
Maxwell's grays are bonny, where early falls the dew, and 'twas there that Annie Laurie gave me the promise true, gave me the promise true, which never God shall be, and for bonny Annie Laurie I would lay me down and be.
I wonder why I feel so restless. The moon is shining, still and bright. Cattle all are resting easy. I just can't sleep tonight. There ain't no cactus in my blankets. I don't know why they feel so hard. Unless it's Warbling Jim singing Annie Laurie out on guard. Oh, Annie Laurie, I wish you'd quit it. I couldn't sleep now if I tried. It makes the night seem big and lonesome. My throat feels sore inside. Oh, how my Annie used to sing it. And it sounded good and gay. Nights I'd drive her home from dances when the east was turning gray.
Her brow was like a snowdrift, her throat was like a swan, and her face, it is the fairest that e'er the sun shone on.
Yes, her brow was like a snowdrift, and her eyes like quiet streams. And her face, oh, I still can see it much too frequent in my dreams. And her hand was soft and trembly that night underneath the tree, when I couldn't help but tell her that she meant all the world to me. But her folks said I was shiftless, wild, and unsettled. They was right, for I leaned punching cattle, and I'm at it still tonight. And she married young Doc Wilkins. Oh my Lord, but that was hard. I wish that fool had quit his singing Annie Laurie out on guard.
And ere the sun shone on, and dark blue is her
just can't stand it. Thinking of the things that happened then, good times, all past me, never seem to come again. What's that, my turn? Well, sure, I'll come running. Would you warm me up some coffee, pard? At least I'll stop that Jim from singing Annie Laurie out on guard. If we the promise true, which never God shall be, and for Bonnie Annie Laurie, I would lay me do and be.
Didn't I tell you it was going to get better? Okay, second go round. Everybody does one poem. You got to give it your best shot. Best poem you got this time on your way around. All right? Kobe, you're first. We might put some music in between them. Whatever you want to do is your best shot. Yeah. You want me to play the banjo while you do that? I hope not.
As long as you don't make no mistakes.
I don't know it. What's that rap?
Well, I do know one thing for sure. I'm not going to do any battle with that raptor this time.
I didn't have any problem with it.
All right, now if I don't hit my forehead, I'll be all right, huh?
We'll lead into it.
Well, this is one, I've heard other poems titled this, but I'm sure it's not the same poem. It's called Riding to the Brink. Being a cowboy sure ain't no get-rich work, when all you can afford is your Levi's and your shirt. So I hired on with an outfit, and he was glad to put me on. Just do what I tell you, son. You can't go wrong. So he got me what I needed, and he put me to riding fence. But a cowboy digging post holes to me didn't make much sense. I said, I don't want to do this, for I'm a top hand. He said, well, it's something you got to do if you're riding to the brink. Well, I figured I was some hungry and I'd better stick it out. Besides, I could see with this Jasper, I didn't have a whole lot of clout. Now, I could envision blisters on hands that wouldn't heal. So I was kind of dragging feet starting this whole deal. Now, if you want a lollygag, we'll do it on your own time. 'Cause I got too darn much to do, so quit a-wasting mine. Son, time is limited, and you don't seem to understand. This here's a working ranch, and you're riding for the brand. So I tipped my hat and mounted up and started making dust. Heck, I was only feeling things out. There weren't no need to make such a fuss. Now I rode on nigh for half a day when across the wagon I came. Rode up alongside and said, "Hi, pard, what's your name?" Now that white-haired old man stopped unloading those cedar posts. He said, "Well, my real name's Elmer, but most just call me Ghost. I ain't seen you around, son. Must be a new hand. You look kind of scrawny. You think you can make it for the brand?" Now, being young and stupid, and a little more than cocky too, I said, "Old timer, I can do anything you can do." Now, he just kind of chuckled and spit out a wad of tobacco. Said, "Well now, Sonny, I don't know about that. Now, you've been riding fence. Maybe this is your first time. Well, you're still wet behind the ears, but you'll probably do just fine. Be careful now, Sonny, don't bite the hand that feeds your mouth. Get on to the line shack, you got a lot to think about. You see, being a good cowboy, it takes a lot of sand. They expect a lot from you when you're riding for the brand. Old timer, that's a lot of posts, and I was gonna help. But I'll be darned if I'm going to now, you can do her all by yourself. Well, he gave me another funny grin and said, son, that job was saved for you. After you've stowed your gear, right back here's what you'll do. As I opened the door to that line shack, disbelief crossed my face. It was a neat little cabin with everything in its place. Living conditions like this was more than I could stand. I think I might like riding for the brand. Now that old man and me spent that summer riding out those fence lines, sharing each other's company and sharing each other's time. He taught me more that summer than I thought I ever could know. And when winter came a-creeping, I sure hated to mount up and go. He treated me like a father, but most of all, he was my friend. He showed me everything I needed to ride for the brand. So I loaded up and headed out, parting with a sad goodbye. Mounted up quickly, for I didn't want him to see me cry. If it hadn't have been for him, I might have turned to a life of crime. Just didn't know how to thank him for giving me all his time. He reached out and touched me on the leg, and for a minute I had to stop. He opened up the palm of my hand, and in it placed a gold watch. He said, son, you've been a test, but you got a lot of sand. I know you'll make a real top hand of riding for the brand. Now I rode back to the ranch, and it sure was a pretty sight. Hoping all the other hands wouldn't kid me too much that night. I knew they'd be teasing me and giving me a lot of guff. But I was bound to show them I was made of the right stuff. And as I stepped down, they greeted me and said, how did it go? In as deep as voice as I could muster, I said, oh, so. The boss patted me on the back, said, you know, I ride this land. And from what I've seen of your work, you'll make a real good hand. So I told him about the old man and everything that he had done. And I sure would like to go back whenever spring would come. The surprise on their faces brought up my deepest fears. The boss said, son, old Ghost's been dead now a year. Well, I looked down at that gold watch lying there in my hand. Who says you can't get rich riding for the brand?
You want to take a drink smoke break, or you want to keep going?
Little break.
Move, Aaron.
They're not going to see. So I'm going to do an old Eddie Arnold's theme song, I guess it was, pretty much. Only I don't do the words right, and I add some more into it, so you might not recognize it, but it was originally kind of called. The cattle are calling, the coyotes are howling, way out where the doggies bark. Birds are ringing, the cowboy is singing, his lonesome carols call. in the sun. When his day's work is done, he rounds up the cattle each fall. His heart is a feather in all kinds of weather as he sings his cattle call.
Okay, Mr. Roy Bay.
Old Cowboy squirms around in the saddle a lot, and he likes to stand in the stirrups while riding at a trot. It doesn't necessarily mean he can't ride very well. It could just be that his hemorrhoids hurt like hell.
Okay, Charlie.
Yeah. Charlie.
Oh, roses are red.
Roses. Whoa.
What's that face for?
Well, I'll tell you what. Whenever we go together, I always seize every opportunity I get to do something with the Fall River Boys or some other group, Wyoming Red maybe, you know. My buddy out there, he tries to sing with me. Well, he doesn't try, he does. He sings with me lots of times. But this time he said I have to do it by myself.
You gotta learn sometime.
So, this is Jeff and his son Ben, and they're going to back me up this time. It's called the Cowboy song. Does anybody know that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, we'll see what we can do with it.
We'll just be back here.
I worry
I
about
need
them when
your
they're back there.
In the middle.
So what you-
There you go.
Yeah. She says she
I got to get you all in there.
Can you see us all now?
Yeah. Got it.
Okay.
Do what she says.
You gotta do that. Pushing horns weren't easy, like the movie says it was. I don't remember dance hall girls or hotel rooms with rugs. You were hot, tired, and nasty, and rode your pony's head too low. And all the night you couldn't sleep, 'cause it was too damn cold. And we sang Strawberry Road and Little Joe. Like a time we hit the river and the rain began to fall. The water rising so damn fast, I thought it drowned us all. Well, we lost a lot of steers that day, the 4 or 5 good nights. But when all the boys rode into camp, we knew that's what counts. And we sang, bringing in the sheaves and the rugged cross. At the time they broke behind us, and they took us by surprise. I whistled out to Bonner, I saw the terror in his eyes. And he rode for all his horse would ride. I know he done his best, but he crossed over Jordan riding down to his death. And we sang Strawberry Road, little children. So when you see the cowboy, he's not ragged by his choice. He never meant to pull them legs or put the gravel in his voice. He's just doing what he really loves, what's burning in his soul, and wishing to hell that he'd been born 100 years ago. Still singing Strawberry Road, little children. Still singing Strawberry Road, and little Joe. Thank you.
Mike Logan?
Seated comfortably in the back here. You doing, Charlie?
I told you you could.
Well, only about 5 to 6. 2 was 2. Not that we were counting.
Are y'all having fun? You know, we can do this all night. Run for it.
Since this evening is for the youngsters, as Henry mentioned a while ago, I taught for 25 years, and I always try to tell the youngsters when they're in the group, about the end of May, when you start really getting tired of school, I just want you to know that there's no way in the world you're half as anxious to get out of school as the teachers are. A year before I retired, I was about to have a runaway in late May. Went in the faculty room and said, boys, I think I'm just tempted to just run away. And our basketball coach at the time, Bob Ridgway from up in the Arrow Creek Breaks, said, Mike, did you ever ride a horse to school in spring? And I said, no, I didn't. My mother and dad did, but I never did. He said, then you don't know what temptation is. I think he lied a lot, because he also told me that he was never late for school, nor did he miss any school because of riding his horse. And I know I'd have missed a lot. But I just call this poem Temptation, and I always dedicate it to Bob. You think you know temptation because you've seen the city lights, or the gleam of easy money, or some dance hall girls in tights? You think you know temptation? Well, boys, I'm telling you, till you rode a horse to school in spring, you haven't got a clue. Till you've seen the breaks a-greening and the days is warming up, and you're 10 years old a horseback, followed by your favorite pup, till the meadowlarks is singing and leading you both on, and the dandelions is blooming by a newborn white-tailed fawn. Till you know there's lessons waiting in the schoolhouse just for you, but the crick's a siren calling, and the sky's its deepest blue. Till you've seen a pair of green wings or a baby cottontail, or a killdeer fakes a broken wing to lead you off the trail. Till your horse kicks up an arrowhead down near the bison kill, or he tries the road that swings around the old bootlegger's still. Till your pups are chasing butterflies or huns up in the draw, or a workhorse poet comes wobbling up on new legs with his mama, till the sage grasses are strutting on the hill beside the school, and the thought of learning history seems a fate unjust and cruel. Now them is real temptations, not like the lust for gold or the mad desire for power that can seize you when you're old. You think you know temptation? Well, boys, I'm telling you, till you've rode the horse to school in spring, you haven't got a clue.
I know that. One of y'all's gonna have to redo.
You bet. It's gonna have to be the fifth. I'll just jump over and take Jenny's seat and he can take it back.
Boy, I tell you, it's tough following a guy like that.
Henry Sparrow.
Well, I guess I'm gonna get about as serious as I ever get.
And that's not very serious, usually. But the name of my new book is Where Eagles Fly. And I thought about over the years of the great older people that I've met. Royal Smith, right here from Townsend, that was in the nursing home over here, drove a stagecoach in this country from Melrose over to Ringland, and he drove in Yellowstone Park, and he drove in Virginia City.
I can still show you one of the stagecoach wrecks.
Yeah.
Seriously, I know that.
And the old guy down at Nevada City that told me the story when we were making the movie 1,000 Pieces of Gold. He told me about trading horses with the Indians over there and selling them in Dillon for rodeo stock. He told me he had a house in town, and in the basement he had a whole pile of silver that he traded with the Indians for horses in his days. And I think about these old people that lived here when things were really tough. And the great times that they claimed that they had, when now, for us, it would be much too rough. So the name of this poem is called Where Eagles Fly. 'Twas early in the morning and fall was close at hand. I had the coffee on the fire and some oats I gave old Dan. The creek was clear and cold. Felt good upon my face. A trout roasted above the fire, and there is no better taste. From time to time I had to glance a mile above my head. The mountains held the sky aloft. That's what the Indians said. Halfway up, the trees were gold. But way up towards the sky, the place that I was heading for was where the eagles fly. Old Danny danced around a bit as I cinched the saddle down. He always seemed to read my thoughts to the top. He knew we're bound. I stepped aboard and urged old Dan before he had time to think. He stopped midstream, looked up high, then lowered his head to drink. I'm sure he knew this very fact, that we were headed towards the sky, and it might take a day or two to reach where eagles fly. He raised his head to take a look at the trail that laid ahead. I've heard it said there's gold up there, and Indians long since dead. There just might be a ghost or two to chase me off the top, or a statue of old St. Peter carved in solid rock. I've heard it said there was a mountain lion that stands upon a cliff and rolls big boulders down at you, but I hope that it's a myth. If I think about the tales I've heard, I'm sure that some folks lie. The truth I'll know if I make it there to where the eagles fly. At noon, we found a place to rest, a wide spot in the trail. A flock of geese flew overhead, and I heard a coyote wail. Old Dan was glad to get the rest. He lathered quite a bit, but he was ready to move along, so I didn't take time to sit. It wasn't too long before the trail just seemed to peter out. A rock slide covered up our path, and we had to change our route. Then a boulder came tumbling down. I looked towards the sky, and I thought I saw that mountain lion up where the eagles fly. The trail got awful rocky and so steep I couldn't ride. The clouds down below us stretched across the Great Divide. I thought I saw some Indians. They were blocking off the trail. Lightning struck and thunder rolled, and there was wind and rain and hail. The ghostly Indians disappeared. More rocks came tumbling down. My mind quickly thought of all the stories I'd heard in town. It sure was hard to get my breath. This trail was really high. I was sure that we were near the top, the place where eagles fly. Old Dan and I came to the place where the trail, it just weren't no more. High upon the cliff we stood, feeling tired and sleepy and sore. We needed to cross the rocky canyon so we could reach the top. The mountain shook with violent force and the cliff began to rock. So, old Dan just sprouted wings, and high above we flew. The clouds even blew away, and the heavens turned to blue. At last, I thought I saw the top. I woke up with a sigh. Only in my dream I reached the place where eagles fly. Thank you.
Fall River Boys.
Great.
Come on in.
I heard that. Seeing as how there's two of us, we're gonna sneak two in, do a song, and then I'm gonna do one more poem. I don't know what song we're gonna do yet.
That makes two of us.
Oh, you can both do the same one.
We thought about doing two separate at the same time, but
Oh, why not?
It's too hard to learn. I heard the Riders in the Sky do that once, so they did about 10 or 12, and holy smokes.
well, he's up at the crack of dawn, putting those big boots on, pulling them calves in the snow has left him tired. There's tension in the air as he thinks of the critters out there. Grazing's gone, the winter has hit him hard. Cowboy, great American cowboy, big high boots, Stetson hat, and a leather vest. Cowboy, great American cowboy, with a horse and a rope and a gun, he'd take the West. Well, he's up at the crack of dawn, putting those woolies on. Wind so cold, the chills are running down his back. The cattle ranges froze, and every little dog he knows he's an angel of mercy mounted on a horse's back. Cowboy, great American cowboy, big high boots, Stetson hat, and a leather vest. Cowboy, great American cowboy, with a crack of dawn, cinching that saddle on, storming hard and things are looking mighty grim. There's a long ride ahead that day, chopping ice and a feeding hay, 'cause he knows every critter's life depends on him. Cowboy, great American cowboy, big high boots, Stetson hat and a leather vest. Cowboy, great American cowboy, with a horse and a rope and a gun he tamed the West. Well, he's up at the crack of dawn, putting that bacon on. Winter is past and the skies are clear and blue. There's springtime everywhere, and the doggies are a frolicking there. And he's thanking the Lord once more for seeing them through. Cowboy, great American cowboy, big high boots, Stetson hat and a leather vest. Cowboy, great American cowboy, with a horse and a rope and a gun he tamed the West. With a horse and a rope and a gun he tamed the West. With a horse and a rope and a gun he tamed the West. Cowboy, cowboy.
This poem I'm going to tell you is my newest one. It's they say that some of the best poetry is from real experiences and personal experiences, and that's what this one came from. Back when I was young, I'm not proud to say it, but I got to running real hard and got to drinking a whole lot more than I should have, and I really wasn't very high on the respectable pole. And one day my dad told me this story, and it took me quite a few years to write this poem. Once I got started writing it, it came out pretty good, but I just didn't know how I was going to do it. But anyway, since this is for the young people, this poem is for you young people, and I'll probably choke up. I'm doing it already. But I want you to listen to this and think about it, because it was a real good message to me. This is a true story that my dad told me, and he just kind of put it in a way that really meant something to me. It's called Crowds and Fences. Tell me what you mean, old man. You're not making any sense. I think your mind is slipping. I'm not crowding any fence. Well, yeah, I've had a drink or two. So what? I'm old enough to do whatever I want. I don't have to take your gut. But please explain it anyway. I'd really like to know what crowding fences means. But hey, be quick. I gotta go. Well, I waited for a lecture. But what I got instead was a lesson from my father. And this is what he said. Son, we used to have a mare some 30 years ago, and any time she got the urge, she'd jump the fence and go. But out along the pasture was one built strong and high. The pole fence of the horse corral was one she wouldn't try. Oh, she'd make a big run at it. To those who didn't know, it looked like she was gonna jump. But it was all a show, 'cause that mare knew her limits. That fence was just too tall. She'd set up hard, turn away, just inches from a fall. One spring, she foaled a stud colt, and within a month or two, whenever she had jumped the fence, well, that colt had jumped it too. But the first day we corralled him, and that mare did her routine, that colt ran right beside her, thinking this was the real thing. When the mare set up, he gathered up. She stopped and turned. He jumped. He didn't clear that top rail, and he landed with a thump. He died from a broken neck, but that mare, she was to blame, 'cause that colt trusted his mama. He just didn't know the game. Now, son, You're like that wise old mare. You've been around enough to know which rules you can break and which ones are just too tough. You know some things can kill you, but you crowd that fence in fun. You charge at it, then set up, whirl to the side and run. But you've got little brothers. To them, you can do no wrong. And anytime you jump a fence, well, they want to tag along. But those boys, they're like that colt. They lack experience. And they might think you're gonna jump when you're just crowding the fence. So take a look around you next time you crowd that fence and ask if what you're doing really makes a lick of sense. Well, my dad was right. I knew it. But I didn't change that day. It took a while to sink in, but I finally changed my ways. And now, well, now my dad's my hero. And all my brothers are strong and tall. And a story about a mare and colt just might have saved them from a fall. Thank you.
That was really nice.
Okay, have you had a good time so far? Well, I'm going to have Vic close out our regular program. And then we're going to hang around and do some more stuff. Russ.
Carrie and I, in the name of our love of our 4-H, this project, we want to do the closing entry. And we'll yield to Mr. Anderson, but sometime we want to do the closing entry.
Okay, it'll cost you $100, but you can do it.
We got a plan for that too.
Okay, I'm going to ask Vic if he will,
Thank you, Mayor. I won't do the closing entry. We from the 4-H Exchange Club would like to thank each and every one of you for coming tonight, and especially all our performers for the wonderful, wonderful job you did. And we'd especially like to thank Henry for putting this all together and giving us a wonderful chance to do it. Thank you.
Carol and I really thank you for coming. You know, we've had a lot of fun at this little barn dance here. We've seen a lot of famous people and a lot of infamous people go through.
And there's more to come.
And hopefully there's more to come. We got a couple of them over there by the door. But we do want to thank you for coming tonight and supporting these kids. And we don't want you to forget that you need to go in there and look at the books and tapes and stuff. And I'm sure you'll want to buy some and take. They make wonderful birthday presents and Christmas presents. And I know you've got people that live all over the country, and you couldn't ask for a better gift to send to your friends and loved ones than what these guys, these professional entertainers, put out. So it's all good stuff. Vic?
Henry.
Over here.
Henry.
Yeah, Charlie.
Before the guys get out, I just wonder if I can get all our picture up on the stage.
Everybody on stage.
Yeah, okay, they're not gonna leave because we're gonna stay around a while.
When they start running.
But we will. He wants to get everybody on the stage because he's going to put the picture in the Cowboy Gazette.
Oh, neat.
About 10 years ago, my brother was running some cows down around 16 Mile Canyon. Every mountain there looks about like this, and there's lots of them. And they're pretty high, pretty tall, pretty steep, and pretty dangerous. We lost 6 pairs down there. My cousin and I spent 10 days wearing out horses trying to find these 6 cows and 6 calves. And one day, had one of those perfect days you get maybe twice in your lifetime. I'd been out all day long. I'd seen nearly every wild animal that Montana has to offer. I was standing on a big high ridge looking down a 16-mile creek. My cousin was down there cooking supper. I swear to God, I could smell what he was cooking. I was pretty hungry. The sun was setting and already the moon was shining. And from that, this song was born, called Day's End. The days through, the shadows fall, I'm heading back home. The sunset is pointing the way. The calves lie down, shy deer bound, the mountains aglow. It's the end of a long summer's day. And as I go, I hear the crow, the loon's fading cry, a whispered tone, so soft and low, the wind's gentle sigh. And on that breeze out from the trees, and how the shadows by, the moon pure gold shows clear my road, my campfire is nigh. Slow, his head is low, he's sweated and tired. He longs now for oats and fresh hay. The saddle stripped, he rolls and lifts and rolls once again. Then he shakes off the dust of the day. When supper's gone, I stretch and yawn the night back and so, and then I turn to watch the burn of campfire's bright glow. Before I sleep, in stillness deep, I thank God above for giving me my family and this land we love.
And so I have a daughter who lives down in Texas. And I've been all over Texas. I remember one time I was hitchhiking through Texas. And this Texan picked me up. And we were going along a kind of a lonesome stretch there, which is most all over Texas. And a bird ran across the highway. And I asked the Texan, I says, what kind of bird is that? He said, it's a bird of paradise. I said, a long way from home, ain't he? So I know all of you want to know about Texas and why Texas is like it is. So I'm gonna read a poem that I done, that I wrote called Old Tater from Texas. Just because you raised $100 for the 4-H kids. See how many bad words I gotta take out of here. I heard about these cowboys who gathered up one day. It might have been near El Paso or was it Santa Fe? It matters not just where they were, it was what was on their minds when they conjured up this awful scheme just a few years back in time. They rode their horses into town knowing what would bring them luck, especially if they used their heads and they didn't drink too much. Well, the saloon was brightly lighted and their party soon begun. They had one drink and then another, and they were shortly done. They staggered from the barroom, and after quite a time, they saddled up their horses, and there was trouble on their minds. Now, old Charlie Tate had a mine just a few miles out of town. Most folks called him Tater, and he was quite a clown. A line shack in a gulch was home. It was quite a place to see. He'd killed and stuffed some rattlesnakes and hung them in a tree. Every time he left the shack, he'd put some on his bed, and one would hang from the windowsill, and there'd be several from overhead. Well, 2 pet skunks and an ornery coon shared his small abode. A mongrel dog named Slicker lay lifeless in the road. Inside the shack were many things hanging from the walls. There were pots and pans and underwear, and they sure weren't clean at all. Them skunks just seemed to like old Tater, for they still had their musk. And they went to bed right with him just an hour after dusk. But if you dared disturb them as they slept the night away, one thing was for certain, you'd sure enough get their spray. Well, as these cowpokes rode, they talked their plan. They needed some roping practice. While old Tater slept, they'd rope him good, and then they'd drag him through the cactus. They laughed out loud, spurred their horses, and headed towards old Tater's, never thinking that they'd have to pay a dang sight sooner than later. Those cowpokes rode and laughed a bunch. Old Tater would be sound asleep. They'd have him roped before he woke and be dragging him by the feet. Old Slicker lay beneath the bed, and his ears were quite the younger. He grabbed old Tater by the foot and woke him from his slumber. Old Tater heard them coming too. From their noise he understood. Those careless, drunken cowboys were sure up to no good. While still in his flannel gown, he eased right out the door, gathered up his rattlesnakes and placed them as before. The shack was dark with just one door, and the window had its shutter. The skunks just made themselves at home, and they snuggled beneath the cover. Slicker and Tater climbed the tree and waited to see the show. As the cowpokes approached the shack, and they were crawling mighty slow, they had their ropes to snare their prey as they entered through the door. The covers moved from side to side. They had him, that's for sure. 2 did snatch the covers back. They were mighty drunk. The other 2, they threw their loops, and they caught themselves a skunk. Old Tater jumped down from the tree, and he gently locked the door. And you could hear the cussing dang near a mile or more. It was dark as hell inside that shack when they got into those snakes. The dad-burned things were in the bed and falling down like flints. One got round a cowpoke neck, another inside his vest. The whole dang place just came alive, and they weren't much time to rest. Then, a terrible odor filled the air. It sure was tough to breathe. But what the hell, they didn't have time with rattlesnakes up their sleeve. Pots and pans began to fall, the show you should have seen. They heard the noise and the cussing plumb down in New Orleans. Old Tater's sides were splitting now. So he opened up the shack, and the coons came out of riding on a stinking cowpoke's back. One by one, they left the shack and headed for their transportation. But the horses took one sniff and fled towards the reservation. Old Tater walked back to the tree, and he helped old Slicker down. From the smell of skunks and rattlesnakes, it was time to move to town. Well, Tater's old shack is history now. It's almost fallen down. But snakes and coons and striped skunks will always there be found. Old Tater, he's buried beneath that tree. And those cowpokes, they've gone to hell. So when you go through Texas, you'll know just why it smells. Thank you. Mike, would you please come up and do ranch truck for me? Okay, while Mike's up here, we'll get everybody's picture. Have you got, Charlie, you got 5 more minutes, don't you? Huh? Okay. All right, he's going to do ranch truck, and then I want all you entertainers up here so we can get a picture, okay? This is probably one of the most unique poems that I ever heard, and probably if you've been around a ranch very much, it's really a common poem too.
This is a common person singing.
Unplug the mic.
Actually, I've got a poem about ranch girls, but I'll miss it tonight. But
No, you won't. We'll do both of them.
no, okay. We were waiting on this buddy of mine named Bruce. We were waiting on his daughters to get the gate and a couple other things. So we did an inventory on his dash. This is called ranch truck. A ranch truck's like a rancher. Don't dress up fit to kill. Just goes and gets the job done without no pomp or frill. While they ain't long on beauty, ranch trucks can hold their own. Just see if this old pickup don't sound like some you've known. Me and Bruce hop in his pickup, we got some hay to load. He's got her chained on all 4 wheels, 'cause last night it sure snowed. Hay hooks festoon the gear shift, there's stock whips on the seat, old skippers on the tow chains that's piled beneath my feet. The windshield's cracked and muddy, I give old Skip a shove. The dash wears 13 mittens and 1 odd left-hand glove. It also sports 3 hammers, 2 pairs of fencing pliers, a stick or 2 of kindling from last spring's Brandon fires, 5 caps and some old glasses, a Pepsi can or 2, a box of mixed up nuts and bolts, and 1 old workhorse shoe. There's binder twine and ear tags, some string wound on a spool, a can of pills for calf scour, and a new ear tagging tool. A shot or 2 Alonzo, a length of rawhide thong, a pair of ancient channel locks, a tape, just 10 feet long. A crescent wrench, a pill gun, band-aids, a chainsaw file, 3 scarves and 1 old down vest, all wadded in a pile. 6 washers on a twist of wire, 8 cents in cold, hard cash. A clevis, a direction book, and that's just on the dash. Between us there's 2 sacks of cake, 3 jackets and some chaps, a slicker and a Swede saw, and 3 new lead rope snaps. The floor holds 1 old halter, an axe, 2 pairs of spurs, a headstone, 2 oil cans, and a blanket full of burrs. Some gunny sacks, a branding iron, a brand new roping rope, a pair of irrigating boots, and a bar of lava soap. No telling what's behind the seat. I'm sure old Bruce can't say, but we won't worry about what's there, 'cause it ain't in the way. We lost a tally book last week. I'm afraid we're out of luck. It's probably lost forever in Bruce's old red truck. Sounds like I'm knocking Bruce's truck. Well, that'd be plumb mean. Besides, we thought of using my rig, but it ain't half that clean.
Hey, you gonna do ranch go while you're up there, aren't you?
Oh, jeez. What'd you say that after I got down here for? If I do ranch girls, I have to do retired first. It's only a limerick, though, folks. Me and this bull fiddler are really getting well acquainted.
You sure are handling it gentle since your wife's out of town.
The first of these two poems gets me in great problems with the ladies, so I hope you'll all be good sports and clap anyway. The second one tries to get me out of this pickle that I get myself into. First one's a limerick. It only 5 lines, so it's not very long. I call it Retired. An old cowboy named Billy Bob Crocker retired to just sit in his rocker. But his wife was a nag, made retirement a drag, so he traded her in for a cocker. I've always said this at the cattle drives, and I see we have at least one Schnur girl here, so usually I dedicate it to them. This one is called Ranch Girls. I'll probably start off with Ranch Truck again. But Ranch Girls tells how I really feel about what's happening on the ranch. The first year I went to Elko and partnered up with a little fellow from down in Arizona that we just got to be real good friends. But anyway, we had a cowgirl poet up saying some poems, and there's some really good ones. But about halfway through her poem, he punched me in the ribs and said, "Mike, they hired a girl to work on my outfit. I'd quit." And I didn't say anything because she was saying a poem, but I thought, boy, he doesn't know the ranch girls I know. He wouldn't be quitting, he'd be rejoicing. So anyway, this is how the poem goes. Ranch Girls. Moving cows is man's work, I heard this young buck say. But Evelyn covered twice the ground he covered in a day. A female don't know healing calves, he growled as his loop missed. But Valerie shades him 3 to 1. He swore he'd sprained his wrist. I'd like to see one drive a team, he crowed for all to hear. But Sherry raked more hay 1 week than he raked that whole year. No girl can keep up on the trail, he'd shout as off he'd ride. But Gail came out so far ahead, we thought his horse had died. He knows about those ranch girls now, how hard they work and long. And all those things he'd known for sure turned out to be dead wrong. Thank you very much.
Okay, Mike, don't move around. You gotta take a quick picture.
Traveling on a desert trail, pack horse by my side. Summer sun upon my back, daydreaming as I ride. Distant hues of shimmering blues, etched in desert's edge. For mountains rise in azure skies, how I'm longing to be there. High country calling me, got no worries or cares. Timber climbing the mountain to heaven's golden stairs. Soft breezes sighing low, sings a song through the trees, and the moonlight's the evening with its silvery beam. The thunder and waterfall sings a haunting refrain, and the sky answers nature's call with the wind and the rain. I hear that high
calling me to its meadows and streams. There I'll find the rainbow and the mountain of dreams, the thunder and waterfall sings a haunting refrain, and the sky answers nature's call with the wind and the rain. I hear that high country calling me to its meadows and streams. There I'll find a rainbow and the mountain of dreams. There I'll find a rainbow and the mountain of dreams.
That song is written by Robert Wagner.
Just one more, please.
Yeah.
Song.
Man, the song.
One more picture or one more song?
This will be an original. If you look back there in the corner, my daughter wrote this song.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, good, I want to hear that.
Kind of an old Scottish type ballad.
I like ballads, I like Scottish.
I got a little
He
Scottish.
likes Scotch too.
Scotch. Scott or Scott? Which one are we talking about now? We'll see a picture of you. Look natural. But keep your eyes open. Okay, now two more, same thing. Yeah, I forgot what I got to look at. I'm afraid you have the same problem I do. It's about 3/4 wired most of the time. No, we sent a picture from Vermont or from Virginia, right?
I'm running out of batteries, guys.
Give me my head right there.
The glare is, Henry, the glare is just a little too much. If you wouldn't mind putting the hat. Valerie.
Yeah, I can understand that.
We're singing while walking one morn. Saw a lady with blue eyes and stars, they were born.
I got one with that.
When they met mine, she was smiling, knew I loved her then. To my little Ross, she was singing down in the willow pen. Will you sing to me, Betty? Will you sing to me then? Will you sing to me, lassie, down in the willow pen? Our father were a rich man were he, with no word under heaven for the hate he bore me. For I had not a penny, and no good was I then.
go.
Colorado Trails.
Is that what it is, Colorado Trail?
Colorado Trail.
Yeah, y'all did that at Bannock.
You were at Daniel? Oh, sure. You
Yeah.
were there. You remember?
Are you bragging or complaining?
Well, I'm complaining now. It rained some. Yeah.
We did rain.
It rained
I
some.
it did.
All right, lots. It was plumb to there, it was.
Up to the loincloth on the
Didn't y'all do that one, Jeff? Huh? You did that, didn't you, Colorado Trail?
I think
I thought so. You did that one, I love that, that's beautiful.
I heard that from there. I was there. I heard it say that I was there.
Right on.
Come in the other day and I wanted
Let me see where the battery is. I'll go now.
Riding on a lonely night.
Up on
So
the
we
left.
try this again.
Okay.
I had to think we're not professional.
Boy, I love that song.
I think I got it.
How can you call like take
Well, you got to practice the Chinese art of tuning.
It's good enough for his
New
voice.
song.
36
You
minutes.
just wash his hands and can't do a thing. Then there was this friend of mine that had sore fingers because he hadn't played in a while. Went and got him a safe rest cream. He rubbed it on his fingers. And he said, you know it worked, but I kept having a third.
Try that one. In a
That's true.
canyon.
We're gonna do that Colorado Trail.
You were
This is
playing back
beautiful.
up.
Okay, I'm
He
waiting.
hadn't played in a while.
Beautiful song.
Ride on the lonely nights, ride through the day. Keep the herd moving on its way. We all ye little rains, wail, winds wail, all along the Colorado Trail. Eyes like the morning stars, cheeks like a rose. Laura was a pretty girl, heaven only knows. We all ye little rains, wail, winds wail, all along the Colorado Trail. Stars